This season we got access to new elemental well mods, and by this time we should have access to all of them, if not the vast majority. I want to talk about those for a bit. Heads up everybody, my name is SentinelGray and welcome to the channel. Elemental well mods started appearing 2 seasons ago with very minimal impact. I mean, yeah, you could definitely get them to work in a couple of different ways, and I did make a few builds based around them, but now with these new elemental well mods, Bungie seems to be going back to their old ways, and not in a good way. Before I go any further, I want to remind you guys that liking and commenting on the video as well as subscribing actually helps the channel. So if you like what I do and you want to help out, those are the best ways that you can do it beyond, sharing the video and everything. This isn't just a meme. It actually helps us YouTubers. If you pay attention to a lot of the new elemental well mods, there's a few things that used to be a thing for our everyday mods, like the holsters, the ammo finders, all of that stuff that Bungie has scrapped. But now it seems like they're bringing back ideas like putting multiple copies of a mod on to increase its effect. We got that ability basically taken away from us recently with like all the ammo finder stuff, but now with these new elemental well mods, it's happening again. Every single one of the new elemental well mods for this season come with the added bonus of quote unquote multiple copies of this mod increase this effect. Basically as a subtext, which means that we've been given, I don't want to say underperforming mods, but they probably could have been a whole lot better if they didn't have this effect from the get-go. Hell, there's even a mod that specifically states that mods that don't have this effect now have it with this other mod. It's so weird. Granted, that may not be exactly the case. Maybe they're not underpowered or underperforming at all, but let's think about this real quick. The new mod Well of Ordnance, not to be confused with another elemental well mod called Elemental Ordnance, gives you additional grenade energy when picking up a solar elemental well. And of course, with the subtext of multiple copies cause this effect to stack. But there's a few glaring problems with how these all work and operate. First off, the well costs solar energy to socket, meaning the piece of armor you need has to be solar in the first place. Second, the bonus grenade energy only applies when you pick up a solar elemental well specifically. And third, even if you equip this mod, you'll never see an elemental well if you don't have a mod that lets you create elemental wells. Just because having a Well of Ordnance doesn't mean that it'll automatically do something for you. It just means that you get more grenade energy whenever you pick up a solar well. It doesn't allow you to create them. Since last season, Bungie has been putting out these elemental wells with stupid effect conditions to use them. Create arc elemental wells whenever you do a finisher. Picking up a solar elemental well gives you increased regeneration for a time. Your next weapon final blow after using your class ability gives you a void elemental well. I'm being serious here. Go in and take a look at how stupid the specifics for this season's elemental wells are, and actually last season's, now that I think about it. They're totally ridiculous. When they first came out in Season of the Worthy, I thought Bungie had a good thing going here. It fixed the problem that plagued most light-based subclasses, which is barely having any ability synergy. Since Stasis has come into the game, it's been leaps and bounds ahead of almost every single one of the light-based subclasses. And for this example specifically, it has the most synergy out of any of them. There's only a few in the light-based subclasses that even remotely contend to the synergy that Stasis has, and that's Middle Tree Sentinel, Bottom Tree Voidwalker, and Middle Tree Dawnblade. And Middle Tree Dawnblade only has high synergy if you know what to do with it and have the right exotics to accompany you. There's a few things I think that Bungie had in mind here whenever making elemental wells, and as somebody who's played this game since launch, I don't know how they thought it was a good idea. The first being is that your entire team is going to be running with the same subclass, which, spoiler alert, barely ever happens. And second is that they assume you're going to make an entire armor set of exclusively one elemental type, like solar or arc or whatever, to run a full kit of these mods. I mean, you could be that guy who runs the solar mod for grenade energy on solar wells, or the arc mod for melee energy on arc wells, or even the stasis mod that allows stasis shards to be used as elemental wells. But are you really gonna rely on your entire team to do this and make these wells? Should you even rely on them in that way? Maybe if you're playing with a group of people all the time, but even still, look at what the game is currently. There's nothing in this game that causes us to do this. I brought this up before in my video about Void 3.0 and the changes that are coming, and maybe I was a little too hopeful, but what I said there, or at least the core of it, remains the same. Destiny is a game that so bad wants to be a power fantasy, and we have nowhere to flex this power. For Void 3.0, we're giving every single class the capacity to clear rooms with a single ability if the enemies are stacked up enough. Even still, that'll happen maybe once in a while. We don't have the enemy density or difficulty to see the true power of these types of abilities all the time. We just don't. But circling back to elemental wells, I can see these mods being somewhat useful if we didn't have a chance to stack them, meaning they would be just useful as it is. Make the mods useful outright, just right out the gate, without even remotely stacking them. And then tune them if you feel that the wells become too oppressive. Like if you first released the mod that gave you grenade energy on solar wells to like give you, I don't know, like 25% energy per solar well. If it's too much, adjust it. The main thing that gets me is that elemental wells started being just general mods that gave you a few things, but now turned into you have to be very specific, and it's almost not even worth trying to get them to work. Like, they all do something different. Not one of them gives you the same effect, just with different wells or different energy. Why not make it so that any well gives you this melee energy or class energy or whatever, instead of having to be very specific in the elemental well type and also the armor energy that you have to socket it into whenever you're running anything. I mean, you could still be very specific in your effects, like picking up a stasis elemental well increases how long you can slow or freeze enemies, or add that effect for burning for solar, or the upcoming volatile effect for void. Since elemental wells only affect PvE, I'm sure this would be fine. They wouldn't have to adjust anything for PvP, or hell, they could probably just disable elemental wells in the Crucible entirely. The thing is, I really want to use these mods, like so much so that if they weren't so specific, I'd be willing to trade out the vast majority of my charged with light mods just so I could play with them. But the fact that they're so damn specific and can be stacked to make it feel almost not even worth using a single version of the mod just doesn't make me think that it's worthwhile. That doesn't mean I haven't done some testing. Believe me, I have. I actually have a pretty decent stasis build with stasis elemental well mods, and I have a video coming out with that soon. So I mean, I can see how useful they can be. I just don't want them to have so many restrictions. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Listen, if you've made some sick as hell builds out of elemental well mods, please let me know. I am more than willing to try whatever the hell out, because like I said, I want to use these. I want these to work. It's just the restrictions suck. Even if you want to change my mind, I am more than willing to have that conversation with you. But thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you all next time. And remember, keep your heads up and be kind to each other. Bye now.